Welcome to Change Starts Here, a FranklinCovey education podcast for K-12 leaders driving meaningful change through bold thinking, real stories, and proven strategies for lasting impact. Now here are your hosts, Kim Yaris and Miller.
Hello and welcome to Change Starts Here, Research Conversations. I am Kim Yaris and I'm here with my co-host and friend, Miller.
Yes, hello everybody. Today we're not making life easy on ourselves because we want to bring you a topic that we feel is very timely, because the shift that we made 2 days before recording is because of an article that we came across that Sarah Sparks wrote in Ed Week. And as we debated whether we should drop the other topic around goal setting, for this one, it really became a conversation about what is the purpose of this platform. And we strongly believe the purpose of this platform is to bring you research-informed practices in real time and to address real needs and opportunities, real strengths of the teachers that we speak to and the educators, the broader group of educators. So with that in mind, Kim, do you want to take us into the statistic that really made us want to make this shift?
Yeah, so there was this one statistic. 46% of teachers say that they are too tired for personal activities after work, right? I'm like, what? I see that and I'm like, that's like half of the people in every building doesn't have the energy for their lives outside of school. And to me, gosh, it's like it's become commonplace and we just kind of expect that. But I mean, half the people in the building?
Yeah.
What?
Right.
Too many.
Right. Yeah, no, and the comparison number, if 46% sounds like, sure, but like, aren't we all stressed, right? No. The comparison to other professions is 13%. So 46 for educators to 13%. And I think that number shouldn't be okay with anyone, right? Teachers, I don't need to tell you all this, but teachers changed lives. And I don't know how to express this without sounding like a cliche or something. Like, because you change lives, you should not have to give up your lives, like, and what makes you feel alive in the process.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I will add to that by saying that it's hard to know that that's what's happening at the time that it's happening, right? I'm a former educator. I mean, and what it boils down to is we feel like we're choosing those which we have a responsibility to, right? Just a couple of years ago, I was teaching middle school and I got to the point in the school year where I was waking up and I was tired. And I'm like, what is going on with myself, right? Even on the weekends, I think to myself, going into the weekend, I have great intentions. I want to go for a bike ride this weekend, which is something I love to do. But I'd wake up and I didn't have the energy for it because mostly there were all these other things that I needed to do, like food shopping and cleaning and catching up on laundry and stuff like that.
Right. Well, and I think, we all have different dynamics in our life, but what really stood out to me and what you said is there at the beginning around not knowing that this is what comes, right, from these decisions. You don't know that you're making a choice that takes you closer to burnout or takes you closer to mental wellness, often not in that moment. And it makes me think about this research that, give me a moment and I'll bring it back, but it's this idea of these two systems. So it's a meta-analysis. So they took lots of studies and they found these two brain systems and they separated out these two brain systems based on what they do in the brain. So there's this wanting system and there is this needing system, right? And
that's feeling like the reality of it. Yeah.
okay, good.
Tell me more. Tell me more. It sounds like you're onto something here.
So this 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 wanting system, it's driven by the reward prediction systems of our brain, like deep in there, right? A lot of dopamine activity, and it's connected to our motivational centers. And that means, the motivational centers, they activate us and our behaviors. um Now, wanting, I do also want to say, wanting is more than just, I want to go to the mall. I don't know. It's also like passion driven. It's, I want to serve, the
Make a difference.
students that I work with. I
Mhm.
want to make a difference. I want,
Mhm.
right? Like, so it can also be about the passions, and we know teachers are very passionate. There are a lot of things that they want to do in the world. That's why you go into
Mhm.
teaching. And now the other system, the needing system, this became very interesting to me. The needing system, this is very driven by interoception. And that is just a fancy word for saying the body state awareness, like the awareness of what's going on in our body, right? A big practice of mindfulness, just being aware of our body. And, that system is signaling to us physiological deprivations. But it doesn't activate behaviors. So a way to think about this, okay, is needing, wanting. Um, it's it's like the difference is that activation of behavior between them, right? And so the wanting system is the accelerator. It's putting your foot on the gas and going, right? Going towards that thing that you want. And the needing system, it's like the gas gauge. It is the thing that tells you how much fuel you have left in your tank, how much more you can push towards those passions, push towards those things that you want, right? So that's a kind of a metaphor for it that I think might be helpful to understand the difference.
Okay, so what's interesting to me is that I would have thought that it would be need that drives behavior. Like,
Yeah,
I need to eat, and that feeling of my stomach rumbling is uncomfortable, so I eat.
right. Right. Yeah, no, I thank you for reminding me, because when I first read this article a couple years back, that's something that jumped out at me too. I was like, oh, it's interesting that want is what drives us. Okay. Okay. I don't really understand this. So I think it's helpful to not think of it as an all or nothing. And I do think it's very helpful that if we're in a survival situation, that need is listened to and acted upon. So it is surprising that that wouldn't be a motivator. But what happens is, evolutionarily, like, the need signals a want, right? The want is wanting to take care of it. So I feel hungry, and the discomfort of that in my body, right? The need, the interoception in my body makes me want to not feel that discomfort. So I'm going to go and take care of that need. So if that makes sense, how those work together.
So it's about the way in which they work in harmony. Like, and it can be really subtle. Like, you could easily miss when the need shifts into a want.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, probably the last thing I want to say about it is it's why we're bringing it up here. It's like, we have needs, but we don't have to do anything about those needs necessarily. We don't have to move that into the want system. That's the wild thing about our abilities as humans, is we don't have to act on a need. But what happens when we have needs that we stifle is it makes it harder to hear them in the future. And that often happens, bringing it all the way back, during times of chronic stress, during times where we don't have the space to decompress, right? Where we're not able to listen to our needs.
So,
That's when we tune out those situations.
all right. So if I'm following you here, it's if you don't listen to a need, the need gets stronger until you do listen to it. Is that
Right.
right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So my hunger would
Yeah.
cause more physical discomfort until I ate, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. But let's bring it back to the folks that are listening, right? So I'm a teacher,
Yeah.
and I've experienced teacher stress. So I just want to think about, what need did I experience that I tuned out?
Yeah.
And I would probably say, whenever difficult emotions came up, I totally tuned them out.
Oh, I hadn't really thought about that as a need. That's good. Do you have like an example?
Well, I am going back to the beginning of my teaching career when I tell you about this story.
Okay.
I had this one really contentious phone call
Mm.
with a parent, and afterwards, I felt demeaned. Um, and I also felt shame, like I had handled it poorly, or, there was a bunch of negative self talk that was going on, like I just wanted to forget that it happened. And maybe what I wanted to do, or what I wanted, was to prove that I wasn't the bad teacher that I was telling myself that I was.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. I mean, I think that example is really interesting. Um, it's like what I heard in that was you had these needs of, that of those difficult emotions that you needed to experience, but what you wanted to do was to drop it. You didn't want to think about it anymore. You wanted to let it go. And you wanted to build back up that sense of efficacy after that very difficult situation, when the need is like you really needed to attune to like the hurt that you probably felt from that, right? Like that balance of it,
Well,
right?
if only I would have known then, right?
Yeah.
But back then, I think it was just all about survival. I was doing the best that I could with the
Yeah.
knowledge that I had, with the experience that I had,
Mm.
and I just kind of needed to get through it.
Yeah. Well, and I think a way of thinking about this feeling of survival, like that experience that you're having, it perfectly describes the experience of so many educators. It's like going back to the car metaphor, it's sitting on empty, but your foot is on the accelerator, right? Like, and that's why wellness is about shifting the way we see needs from something we will get to later or when we have time, right? Like, I need to push that away. I can't think about that now, to like something that actually allows us to make the car work. And if we forget that the needs, if we suppress them long enough, we stop listening to them, we're just fooling ourselves into thinking that we don't need gas refills like other cars, right? Or electric cars, right? And it's a form, I frankly, it's a form of self-deception. It's not limited to teachers, but it's like it's a form of self-deception that sets us up like to be stranded, right? In that car.
Oh my gosh. I feel like you've just pushed on a wound. Ugh. And so I'm going to just take that metaphor just one step further and
Mm.
think about the car as the vehicle that carries everyone that depends on you.
Mhm.
And so for so many teachers, that's like the biggest motivator, right? We care for others, not for ourselves. But when we act like we don't need gas, we send a message like we are teaching others that it's normal to keep going without refueling. And that can lead people to expect us to drive farther than we can or carry more than we should. And it also sets a pattern showing our colleagues, our students, and even our family members that if our car doesn't need gas, maybe theirs doesn't either. And that feels like a scary precedent to set.
I agree, and I love that you're speaking to, like, the cultural aspects of this, right? Because we hear that that can perpetuate a lot of this stress. I'm not saying that that alone, but I just think that that's really profound, that idea that, "Oh, others don't need to refuel," or "Others can push it down," right? Like, I love how she dealt with that situation, like, that stressful, right? Like, we applaud those who act like they have no needs. And that is damaging. Normalizing needs, right,
No question.
is a message of this research and these statistics that continue to show the level of wellness and stress for teachers, right?
All right. So we've named the problem. Is there anything we can do about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what the practices that we are offering here to you today, and, given the time, we're going to put a lot in the show notes. They're completely free. Just go download them, and you can see a lot more of these practices. But what these practices aim to do is help us listen to the need, like look at that gas gauge more, and be aware of how to make some of the thing, like be aware of the need to refill, the need for pit stops.
Mhm.
And to do that, if it's, based on the statistics, a lot of our educator friends need to pay attention, build those pathways back up in the brain, because when we ignore it, like we said before, it makes it harder to hear. It makes it harder to find those pathways. So one of the examples here, it's going to sound overly simple. This is a 1-minute thing that you can do, because we want this to be things that you can put into practice for yourself or for others this week, today, right? So it's we're calling it a want need check. Very original, right? So what do I deeply want here, right? Is a question to ask yourself. Just when you're in those moments, what do I need right now?
Mhm.
Right? So actually, I like the idea of setting alarms for yourself in the day. That's something that helps me to go,
Mhm.
okay, at this time, I'm not going to ignore the alarm, or as I'm driving home, or I'm driving to pick up, this kid, or go to this, like a time when you can dedicate yourself to just asking yourself, what is it that I need right now? Right. And what action can I take to protect that need? And
Ooh,
so it's just
ooh.
helping you to think and see that, right? Go ahead. Yes.
I'm having a thought. So it's kind of like pausing to look at your gas gauge, right? Do I need to go get gas right now? It's kind of similar to doing that in the same way that you would just kind of pause and take note. You do the same thing, but you do it for your own personal well-being.
Right. Because we don't want to be sitting on empty. Like, that is not the norm. Like, that's where my husband, and it used to be my dad, would get very upset that I'm driving around on empty, right? Like, we don't want that to be the place that we're like, see, I feel some needs. We want to fill it. We want to fill it up. We want there to be a lot of miles in us before we start to feel those feelings of like absolute burnout, which is your body going into shutdown. Just be so clear. Like, when you're in that space, you are going into shutdown. You were not listening enough, and your body is reclaiming what it needs. And so
Awesome.
that is something we can be compassionate about for ourselves, but we also want to keep that gas tank full.
Simple, but practical.
Simple but practical, and so needed.
Indeed. Indeed. All right. So, listeners, we all want to go the distance for our students, but if there's one thing you take away from here today, we hope that it is this: the best engines need fuel. Burnout is not a sign of weakness. It is a signal that we are driving on empty. And so when we honor both what drives us and what sustains us, our wants and our needs, we find that the road feels lighter, the purpose is clearer, and honestly, the journey becomes joyful again.
Indeed. And we bring this to you because we think this awareness is practical and helpful, and not to say that none of you want to be in that space where you're feeling this. And so we hope that these short ideas of just paying attention and, separating out and listening for that need will truly help you feel a little bit lighter.
Yep. And so, folks, if today's episode resonated, please like, share, subscribe. Don't miss what comes up next, because who knows what it'll be about, whatever the hot topic of the day is, right? All right. So, listeners, take care.
FranklinCovey Education is a trusted partner in developing leaders from the classroom to the boardroom in over 8,000 schools in over 70 countries.